there were some students, we don't want to call them difficult students, but like students who struggle basically.
Yeah.
Um, all of my colleagues would always say, we don't understand why they always gravitate towards you. Like they feel
Ah,
comfortable around me, to just be themselves. And I later realized that, yeah, because I let them be themselves. I'm not trying to force an idea of how a child should be on them. I'm just letting
yeah.
them be them. And that's how I always was able to not just like help them, but actually help them grow and realize and be more self-aware. And that's huge for a child, especially. I mean, the same things happened with me, and that's why I think it comes from there. That like I would never want another child to feel like how I did growing up. Um, so that's why I always try to create that environment for them to just be themselves. And I wish I had that growing up, but because can't change the past, I guess for those children, I was able to actually see. I'm friends with some of the parents on social media now, and I see them post some great stories about them, and it's
Yeah.
lovely to see
Great.
them grow into these people. And there was this one parent who actually um, told me a few years later, after her son was in my class, she told me, you know what, you believed in him when no one else did. That was huge. That was a big moment for me. And yeah, I think that's
It's
really
huge.
important to believe in your children. And yeah, doesn't matter if it's your own children, but just, yeah, any child, if you think they need to just be told that, yeah, you know what, I believe in you. That's very important.
That's so cool. There were a lot of black eyes at the day treatment center when it came to staff. So I finally was saying, what do you need? What do you want? And how can I help you? And I was actually called to this place early on just because they had gotten 7 violent kids at once. And in my observation, I sat down with the staff later and I said, look, we're all going to stop talking left brain to all these right brain kids. And then if you're in front of the kids talking, um, as the teacher, don't look at anyone who like comes in the door. Use your peripheral vision. And if you're the person coming in the door, don't go in the door unless you absolutely have to walk into that classroom. They had behavior managers and they'd stick their heads in, and that was
Yeah.
throwing kids
Yeah.
off. So I said, take a note and leave it on the teacher's desk. If you absolutely have to get a message to the teacher just reaches the hand out, you pass the note, there's no eye contact. The eye contact stays with the kids. And when the teacher takes a breath, the teacher can quick look down at the note. But it's otherwise it's just like mommy got on the phone, but all hell breaks loose,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting how that all went. Yeah.
Well, when I was learning, teachers were using blackboards.
Yeah.
So they had their back turned to the class most of the time. I mean, what are you meant to do? Being talked to by someone who's got their back turned to you, occasionally looking around and saying, "Pay attention, Stevenson." You know, that was it. And I mean, I just can't imagine speaking to an audience with my back turned to them.
Yeah, exactly.
I might try it tonight, just as an example.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
Right?
actually, it would be. When I was young, this is what I saw my teacher. You know, that was it.
Yeah. And that's when
Extraordinary.
all hell broke loose too, because kids were getting away with being mean to each other,
Yeah,
passing
absolutely.
notes, and whatever. At the Day Treatment Center, we created a acronym, I guess it would be called Q-tip, and it meant quit taking it personally. And so
Yeah.
if we were dealing with a kid and the other staff could see that, okay, your ego's now involved, you're over your line. They would call Q-tip,
Yeah.
and then you knew that it was time for you to step out, step away, and they would step in. And that was really, really good because these kids could get to you. Even it doesn't matter
Yeah.
how you saw
Well,
behavior it was, it
yeah.
wears on you. Yeah.
The, we've got a Confucius classroom in Edinburgh, one of the schools, a private school, of course, and the Chinese paid partly towards it. It's a circle. The
Mhm.
students sit around in a circle. There's no front and back, and the teacher has to sort of, move around, which is good. Um, and no one feels they're at the back of the class. They're in the stupid part of the class. And it's not like a manufacturing unit, like conveyor belts of students coming through the school system. It's a
Yeah.
bit like an industrial revolution model. And I think the biggest thing that's going to happen over the next 10 years is going to revolutionize education. Part of it will be AI. So teachers will become more facilitators, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I used a lot of technology when I used to
Yeah.
teach, and kids respond a lot better to technology than
Yeah.
anything that needs requires them to write. And like even though that's never going to go, it's just the world that's where it's heading. And even that kind of circle, used to call it circle time actually instead of learning time.
Yeah.
Um, Bringing in that sense of community that yeah, we're just going to sit together and learn. That's the new philosophy, which I'm so grateful that I got to be part of, because yeah, even me growing up in a classroom, teachers back towards us, and we could do anything we want, and
Yeah.
yeah, because she's not looking at us, right? So can't blame us, like we can't blame children either, because yeah, that's how there was a sense of fear in a classroom, right? That yeah,
No,
um,
never blame the pupils. Never. I
yeah.
mean, there are some extreme behaviors, okay, but there's usually a reason for that. But you can't blame kids if you can't hold their attention.
Hmm.
You can't. It's up to the teacher to engage. And because I couldn't, I was blamed for everything. I was blamed for every disruption in the class, even if I was sitting quietly.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Oh,
scapegoat. Yeah.
yeah, it's terrible. It's just, and I don't suppose it's ever left me in a way. You can repair yourself, you can move forward, but I think it's still left an imprint. But it has to, doesn't it? Everything that's said to you when you're up to the age of, you know, probably 17 was negative. Everything. Because my parents were splitting up, and at school, oh God, I hated it. I cannot tell you how much I hated it. And primary school as well. I mean, now primary schools are colourful places. They do a lot of art, they do drama. They're never sort of sitting down for the whole day.